The woman was husband coaxed to come to the beach to take pictures. Then, a hand pushed her into the sea. And the wife was pregnant with a 3-month-old fetus in her belly, fell into the sea together. The huge waves repeatedly struck the wife's body. Her head hit the rocks back and forth. Her face was cut open with multiple wounds. What's more dangerous is that the sea is infested with sharks. At this moment the husband was also in tears. After all, we were once a couple, but now he killed his wife and unborn child with his own hands. The husband called the police and lied that his wife had fallen off a cliff. Search and rescue team searched around and did not find the wife's body, and so the wife disappeared from the world. And the wife, who drifted in the sea overnight, she died without knowing why her husband. Why did he kill himself and the child in his belly? Because 1 minute before she was pushed off the cliff, the husband also vowed to his wife, claimed that he would love his wife for the rest of her life. She did not know that this was her husband's last confession. She still foolishly thought he was shedding tears of sincerity. The next moment, she was pushed into the sea by her husband. After a day and night of drifting, Xiaolin was washed to the shore by the sea. A rich woman passed by and saw the unconscious Xiaolin. The skin of her whole body was scratched. Her face was also disfigured. The rich woman immediately called an ambulance to bring Xiaolin to the hospital. After several days of help from doctors, Xiaoling's life was saved from danger, but the mental side was seriously stimulated. The rich woman tried to communicate with Xiaoling to help her get out of the psychological haze. During the time Ling was recovering, everyone thought she was dead, and just a few months after the wife died, the husband was promoted to general manager. In the company, he announced his engagement to the boss's daughter. He dialed his husband's phone number to ask why. Why did he kill himself? Why did he marry his daughter? He believed that his husband must have something to say. After answering the phone, Kobayashi could not speak because of vocal cord damage. At that moment, another woman's voice came from the other side of the phone. She was her husband's new fiancée, the daughter of the company owner's daughter. Lin hung up the phone and sobbed alone. She lay on the sofa and cried silently. The doctor told the rich woman the skin of Xiaolin's face was almost completely destroyed. If she wanted to be a normal person again, a huge amount of money would be needed for surgery. To do plastic surgery, the rich woman was kind-hearted. She felt deep sympathy for Lin's suffering, so she spent a lot of money on surgery. She underwent plastic surgery for her. The doctor designed a new face for Lin. The surgery was very successful. The moment the doctor lifted the veil, the rich woman was amazed. Lin's new face was even more beautiful than before. With the help of the rich woman, Lin's body, mind, and soul gradually regained their health. To repay the kindness of saving her life, Lin became an employee of the rich woman's company. 3 months later, her ex-husband officially held a wedding. The bride is the daughter of the boss of the company. Her ex-husband's name is Mike. Now it can be said that both career and love success. Halfway through the wedding, a hot woman came into the scene. He is the reborn Lin after plastic surgery. This time, she came back to seek revenge on Mike and to find the reason for his murder. Mike was immediately attracted to this strange woman. He recites his vows to marry his bride. But his eyes were glued to another woman. Kobayashi found an empty seat and sat down. The bride also noticed that the groom's eyes were not right. He kept staring at that woman for some reason. Lin and the boss's illegitimate son, Bai, offered to shake hands. They were introduced as having known each other before, but Bai didn't recognize Lin. A few minutes later, Mike came up to him and asked about Lin's identity. Lin lied that he was a client of their company. He wanted to cooperate, so he came uninvited, took a business card out of his bag and handed it to Mike. Then he turned around and pretended to fall down. Sure enough, Mike hugged Xiaolin with a serious illness. The bride happened to see this scene. She was jealous. The woman who had just gotten married and dared to say goodbye on the spot. The bride immediately came over and separated the two. The groom introduced that this was a new client of the company. Xiaolin also took the initiative to greet the bride. He gave his blessing for their marriage. Just the first time they saw each other, the bride sensed that this woman was not a good person. The boss's illegitimate son, Xiao Bai, found out his sister's wedding poster was scratched. After leaving the wedding site, Xiaoling went back to his original house. His father also passed away due to illness. During the time of his treatment, he didn't get to see his father one last time. The only family in the world had also left himself. Now the only purpose of living is revenge. Mike, the Phoenix man, became a son-in-law having breakfast with the boss's family, but in his mind, he still thinks about the woman at the wedding last night. Strange woman at the wedding. The boss's heart is not good. He might be critically ill at any time. Mike, as a son-in-law, he wanted to inherit the huge estate of the boss, but the boss already had a fixed plan in his mind. All the property would be inherited to his son. Kobayashi came to the tombstone of his father and himself, looking at the two photos on the stone. I couldn't tell you how aggrieved I was. He didn't get to see his father's last face before he died. It became the regret of Lin's life. He swore to the photos on the stone he would never let his old self die in vain. He would find out the truth and take revenge on Mike. After Kobayashi left, Bai also came to the present to send flowers to the couple. In fact, he had been secretly in love with Kobayashi from a distance. He watched this heartbreaking scene. Kobayashi felt sorry for him. He felt sorry for Xiao. By Mike's side, he was thinking about the strange woman who appeared at the wedding, so he took out his business card and dialed the other party's phone number. Xiaolin did not expect the other party to take the bait so quickly. The two of them met at a fancy restaurant. Lin said he had a deal for a batch of private jets. He wanted to deal with Mike. They quickly reached an agreement at that moment. Chikane called Mike, but he didn't answer. The mother-in-law criticized her son-in-law for not coming home so late at night. After only a few days of marriage, he didn't come home so late at night. The daughter and mother explained that her husband was out on business with a client. The mother said, "What business can be more important than the wife at home?" Mike thought he had successfully concluded the cooperation, but he didn't know that he had fallen into Xiaolin's trap. Chikane was lying in bed, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. She was thinking about her husband who didn't come home. When she heard the door open, she pretended to be asleep. Mike knew that he was faking sleep, apologized to his wife. He said he had a very important business deal today. That's why he came home so late. With a few simple words of wisdom, the wife forgave Michael. Lin hung a handkerchief on a tree branch he happened to bump into. By this action made by he remembered the time when he and Lin were together in order to worry about the handkerchief being alone hanging on the branch with the moon. And Xiaobai also hung his own handkerchief on the branch. Tonight is the same again, two handkerchiefs hanging on the same branch. White approached me saying Kobayashi's eyes look like those of a friend who died a year ago. She fell into the sea. Xiao Lin asked how the girl was in your heart. Xiaobai said in his body there is an angelic purity different from all the girls tonight. They became friends again the next day. Mike arrived at the promised airport. Stepping down from the private jet was the official company, the new client, Ling, after a makeover dressed in a white one-piece dress. She was beautiful and charming. Mike was captivated by the beauty in front of him. After a moment's reprieve, Xiaolin and Mike introduced their factory private airplanes produced by them, the advantages of performance and price, and invited Mike to go inside the plane to experience a service sitting on the seat. Kobayashi took the initiative to help Mike put on the seat belt. The distance between them was only 10 cm. Mike said that Kobayashi's perfume smelled very good. Kobayashi expressed her thanks politely. He also prepared wine for Mike to celebrate their first collaboration. When they shook hands, Xiaolin noticed Mike's arm had 3 deep scars, asked him how he did it. Mike lied and said it was a scratch from a car accident. It turned out that Lin was pushed off the cliff when he grabbed Mike's hand. He scratched 3 deep blood stains with his nails. That's why the scars were left. Mike felt guilty and deliberately avoided the topic. In the evening when he returned home, Chikane smelled a woman's perfume on her husband's shirt. Smelled a woman's perfume, and she had never used this perfume. Can't help but think of her husband.